Most of us have had the moment. Something lands in your inbox, an opportunity shows up. Someone's waiting on your answer. And everything around you says, I need to make a decision. I need to make a decision. Don't miss this opportunity. And that feeling has a name. It's called urgency. And urgency is one of the most powerful tools used in KPI in our key performance indicators thinking. KPI treats speed as wisdom. The faster you decide, the more decisive you look. And the more decisive you look, the more of a leader you appear. But here's something no one really tells us. Speed and discernment are not the same thing. And confusing the two can cost leaders more than they realize. Before we go further in this, I want to say something important because I don't want you to mishear what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with making decisions quickly. In fact, I am known for that. Some decisions don't need a lot of time. You've done the work, you know your assignment, and you move. The question isn't about speed. The question is, why am I moving quickly? The question is, where am I sourcing my why, my reason? Is it coming from a place of pressure? Even the statement, I'm missing out, is a fear-based statement rather than I'm stepping in to my calling and purpose. So, what's driving the decisions? Is it coming from alignment or anxiety? Is it coming from clarity or, again, that fear of missing out? Because where it's coming from really changes everything. Kingdom spiritual intelligence is something that I am known for. KSI for my abbreviations. And it doesn't ask you to necessarily be slow. It asks you to be connected. And that's a big difference. We've been building something together in this series. In video 1, we talked about where are you sourcing from? Where is your why sourced from? Where does your strength actually come from? Because if everything depends on your effort, you're carrying weight that God never asked you to carry. In fact, he told you not to. In video 2, we talked about measurement. We talked about KPI measurement and those results. We talked about kingdom thinking, asking a deeper question. Am I aligned? Am I obedient? Am I focusing on producing fruit that lasts by abiding? And now here we are, because once you understand your source and once you start measuring differently, the next question is unavoidable. How do you actually make decisions from that place? And that's what we're diving into today. So imagine yourself standing in a fork of a road. One path is loud. People are cheering you on. The opportunity looks impressive. The numbers make sense. Everything about it says success. And the momentum is already building. You can feel it. And you haven't even said yes yet. Now, the other path in this example is quieter. There's less applause and some feeling of uncertainty. There's fewer people understanding why you would even consider going down this path. From the outside, it doesn't look super impressive. In this example, which road would you choose normally? The first one felt more certain and it felt more impressive. We're drawn to being in a community and feeling like we belong and having some type of certainty. We're not naturally drawn to something that feels a little bit less quiet or uncertain because the other one feels safer. And when everyone around you is excited, it's easy to mistake energy for confirmation. Kingdom spiritual intelligence asks a different question, not which road is louder, which road actually carries peace. Because God's direction often whispers while the world shouts. I'm not saying either one are wrong. This is just an example. In Proverbs 19:2 says, desire without knowledge is not good, and whoever makes haste with his feet can trip and miss his way. You can be moving very fast and everything look good in the wrong direction. And here's what this might look like on a Tuesday afternoon. You get an email. Your stomach tightens. The opportunity sounds good. The timing feels right. The pressure says, I need to know right now. Can you let me know within the hour? Don't miss this chance. If you wait too long, someone else will take it. That pressure is information. KSI slows the moment down and asks, where's the pressure coming from? Is it coming from the Holy Spirit moving me forward? Or is it coming from fear that I will be left behind? Because what is yours, no one else can take. The world isn't a pie where you might miss and not get a piece of it. Because what God has for you is for you alone. And those are two different sources. Coming from a place of I'm sourced with God, that He is with me and there's nothing that can stand against me. I can't miss out if this is for me. And the source of fear, afraid that I have to move, I have to make a decision. What if I'm misunderstood? What if I'm left behind? Instead of reacting, it never hurts to take a pause. And even if you had an hour to decide, the way you spend that time getting back, where's peace? You pray, you listen, and maybe sometimes you discover this opportunity wasn't aligned. It just looked impressive. The packaging was right, the timing seemed right, but underneath something was off. And you only know because you paused enough to hear. I call that pause from a book I read once, and I have named it Thinking Time. Thinking time is not a productivity hack, it's a spiritual practice. Psalms 46:10 says, be still. Even me being still for those couple seconds, doesn't that feel funny? We're so used to being in motion. Be still and know that I am God. Not to be still to figure it all out. Not to be still and strategize. Not to be still and compare the numbers, the pros and the cons list. Be still and know. Know Him. Know what He's saying. Know what He's doing. Because the key is partnering with Him, not Him partnering with you. Bless me as I run was actually one of my prayers. Stillness isn't empty. Stillness is where God speaks. Jesus modeled this repeatedly. He withdrew often. He prayed. He listened. I would love it if they showed us exactly what he did during those times, but it says he separated himself. He wasn't being slow. He was being connected. And what he heard in those moments shaped everything else. And if Jesus needed to do it, you and I need to do it even more. Over time, I've learned to ask a few questions before I decide anything significant. And these questions have become my KSI, my Kingdom Spiritual Intelligence decision making framework. The first question, is this aligned? Is this resonating with what God has already shown me? God doesn't change. He doesn't contradict himself. If this is a new opportunity that pulls you away from what he's already clearly directed, it's worth a pause. Alignment with your assignment, with your passion, with your goals matter more than alignment with the opportunity. The second question, does this decision feel like peace or pressure? Not the absence of a challenge, not the absence of even hard work, but underneath it all is there peace. Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of God rule in your heart." The word rule actually in the original language means an umpire. Peace is supposed to call the play. If peace isn't present, that's a signal worth honoring and noticing. Peace as your umpire. The third question, will this produce fruit that lasts, not temporary momentum? Sometimes the decisions are planting. We just love the harvest. And a lot of times we're planting seeds that we're quickly thinking about digging up. KPI thinking loves momentum because momentum feels like progress. But momentum and fruit are not necessarily the same thing. They can be in harmony, but pausing and thinking about it. John 15:16 says, I choose you and appointed you that you would go and bear fruit, fruit that remains. It's that leaving a legacy, not just an inheritance thing, if you missed me teaching on that. Then there are two more questions that go even deeper. Is the pressure I'm feeling from fear? Because fear is a very convincing decision maker. It disguises itself as wisdom. It sounds like urgency. It feels like discernment. But fear-based decisions almost always produce fear-based results. Everything as you sow, so shall you reap. When you identify where the pressure is coming from, you can name it, give it to God, and then decide from a completely different place. And finally, am I making this decision already planning to fail or mess up? This is one, you'll be surprised, I think, if you stop and think about it, how much time your brain naturally goes. If it works, then I'll do this. If it fails, I'll do this. We make plans or preparations if it fails, what we're going to do. So it's a subtle one, but it's powerful. We sometimes make decisions with one foot already out the door. We say yes, but we are preparing for it not to work. And that's not faith. That's self-protection dressed up as action. KSI requires you, ask you to bring your whole self to a decision, not just the part of you that feels safe. These questions don't slow you down. They reorient you. They ground you. They give you a foundation to stand on. They move you from reacting to being discerning. Let me show you how this will play out. Two leaders are making the exact same decision. They launch the same type of thing. They build something similar. From the outside, it looks identical in the KPIs. Same numbers, same growth, same results on paper. But inside, the experience is completely different. One is constantly exhausted, second guessing every step, pushing harder, losing sleep, keeping momentum alive, wondering why it feels so heavy when everything actually kind of looks good. The other one moves with steadiness, not because the work is easier, and not because they sometimes don't face challenges, but because the decision was born from alignment, getting their strength from their source instead of being driven by pressure. They know why they said yes, and they know who is backing them. It's not all up to them. They know who told them to move, and they have the clarity that sustains them how to get more strength, more wisdom, more clarity if it gets hard. Same key performance indicators, but a little shift and there's different results in their own life. That's the difference between urgency and discernment. Urgency reacts to what's loudest, it's driven. Discernment responds to what's true. Discernment asks, what is God saying about this? Urgency is driven by the fear of missing out. Discernment is led, not driven, led by trust in the one who holds me and the outcome, or you. As Isaiah 28:16 says it simply and beautifully, whoever believes will not be in haste. Whoever believes. The antidote to urgency isn't strategy. It isn't a better decision-making framework. It's faith. It's the deep-seated knowing that God is not going to let you miss what is actually yours. Discernment isn't slow because it's timid, and it's not necessarily slow at all. But it does pause to listen. And what you hear in the pause is worth more than anything you could have decided in a rush. Because the treasure is the abiding, not the outcome. I want you to know that this is just one piece of a larger conversation that we've been having this year about kingdom spiritual intelligence. Learning to operate from a completely different system than the one the world has handled us. Something is coming in the next month for people who are ready to discover more about how to live from this place. And for now, I have a gift for you. It is a 10-point self checklist for faith led leaders. Are you reigning or are you striving? Nothing in your life was meant to cost you your peace. So click the link wherever you find me sharing and take this simple self check and discover how to reign instead of strive, how to make decisions from a place of peace and discernment instead of pressure and driven. I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day.